Welcome to SNAP, Survivors of Narcissistic and Abusive Personalities. This educational recovery podcast is presented by Claremont Mental Health and Mandy Friedman, licensed professional clinical counselor. This presentation contains vital information for survivors of abuse. Topics include the spectrum of abusive personalities, targets of abuse, abusive relationships, and survivors in recovery. We hope this information helps you gain solid footing and clarity as you navigate your road to recovery.
Hi everyone, Mandy Friedman here, licensed professional clinical counselor, clinically certified domestic violence counselor, clinically certified trauma professional, and the creator of SNAP, Survivors of Narcissistic and Abusive Personalities. Today I am here to talk to you about senior sociopaths. I mentioned this in a previous video, letting you know that I would be doing this book review, and now here I am today doing the review. I also need to check and make sure that this is actually working because I've had troubles with this in the past. So just give me 1 second here. Is it working? It seems like it's working. It says live. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm assuming that it's working. And all right, here we go. Oh. Okay, this is the book that I am reviewing, Senior Sociopaths: How to Identify and Escape from Lifelong Abusers by Donna Anderson. And she even signed my copy for me, which is super nice. Oh, you can't see it, can you? There you go. Yeah, Donna even gave me her little signature there. That was super sweet of her. She's a really great lady. So I just wanted to share with you about this book because I find it to be really, really important. As a lot of my clients have parents who are older, and they're abusive parents or relatives that, you know, they're now in the later stages of life. We're talking about 50 and up, older adults. I'm almost 50. That seems pretty young, but that's really what where the number starts, is 50 plus in terms of who she interviewed for her research. So, but let's do a little backstory here. Who is Donna Anderson? So Donna Anderson is the author of lovefraud.com. She's also a researcher. She has a bunch of books, which you can find on her website, www.lovefraud.com, which I will also add to the notes to this video, so you can go and check her out. She's got a book about red flags, all kinds of stuff that's really helpful. So I would go and check that out. I also have 6 webinars on her website as well, if you're interested to look at any of those having to do with healing and recovery from abuse. So those are there on her website as well. Recently, she had a TV appearance on Investigation Discovery, a show called Love, Honor, and Betray, where she shared her story of how she was abused, because she's a survivor as well. She told her story of abuse at the hands of a sociopath live on TV, which was really super cool, very brave and awesome. And that was just this past December, right before the book came out. So that's Donna, really great lady. That's her history. And, you know, she's doing this research and then presenting it to people who study psychopathy. You know, she's going to these, you know, symposiums and going to these, you know, where all of these researchers are getting together, these big important people, and she's standing right up there and she's saying, you're wrong. You're wrong. Based on my research, this is what I found. And it really takes a lot of character strength and bravery to do such a thing. So she's kind of a hero to me, if you can't tell. A little bit proud of her. Okay, so the reason that she wrote this book is because it's a common myth and misunderstanding that psychopaths and sociopaths and narcissists burn out over time, meaning that they run out of the energy that it requires to run the games and, you know, do the typical things that they would normally do, that takes a lot of energy for them to have lots of things going on and be manipulative and keeping the story straight and telling lies and, you know, gaslighting and all of the things that they do, criminal behavior, abusive behavior, nastiness, that goes away over time because it takes so much energy for them to do that, which is interesting to me. And I have a counter theory along with Donna's. But so that's the common view. Now, you got to think about where would be a place where psychopaths would be able to participate in their own interviews, asking them how they feel as they get older, right? So a lot of what we understand about psychopaths come from the perspective of the psychopath, who is probably incarcerated and, is volunteering to participate in certain things as they are incarcerated. And from the perspective of the psychopath or the sociopath, they get depressed. And they, because they're aging and because their, antics and the jig is up, it's coming to a close, and that they get depressed and that they kind of, peter out with things. But as I've been looking for that research, what I see is it coming from the perspective of the psychopath. Well, Donna's research is from the perspective of the targets and the survivors. Duh, aren't they going to be the ones that really know the truth about the behaviors? Not the psychopaths lie, and sociopaths and narcissists lie. This is very natural way. They're very manipulative, and they have ways of framing things in a context, and even feigning emotions. And also becoming a persona, being able to become something in front of another person based on what they're trying to achieve. So anyway, Donna's like, well, hey, maybe we should talk to the people that are really affected by the behaviors of the psychopaths and sociopaths, right? Pretty smart. So she did a survey of approximately 1,200 people that were survivors, targets, or witnesses of abuse at the hands of senior sociopaths. And I just want to share with you some of the things that she found, because I think it really relates to a lot of my clients and people in our SNAP groups in terms of the kinds of abuse that we're more likely to face from an individual that is this type of an abuser. So I've got the book right here in front of me, and if you wind up getting the book, I'm on page 47, and the table here is harm suffered by dating and married victims due to romantic involvement with a senior sociopath. So these questions are based on dating, like intimate partner involvement with a senior sociopath, okay? And the questions that they asked that they had to select from was, these are like the effects, right? The aftermath of things that went on. You lost your home, you lost your business, you lost your job, you incurred debt, you declared bankruptcy, you were physically abused or injured, you were infected with an STD, the stress of the involvement made you ill, you became anxious or depressed, you suffered post-traumatic stress disorder, your life was threatened, you considered or attempted suicide, individual threatened or committed suicide. So in other words, you either considered it or attempted it, or the abuser, considered it or attempted it. Pets were injured or killed. He cheated or she cheated on you. Sexual demands made you uncomfortable. The individual was secretly into pornography. Lawsuits were filed against you. I just had a client the other day I was talking to that's happening with her. Criminal charges were filed against you. And that happens too. They love to, they love to turn the tables, right, and flip the script and project and point the finger. And they always accuse people of the things that they're actually guilty of. Okay, so those were the things that they asked in this particular part of the survey. And I just thought this finding was really interesting. Now, they divided the group up into those that had been dating versus those that were married. And I'm finding that the numbers don't really matter whether the person was dating or married, so I'm not going to make that distinction with you. But I just want to give you the top 4 responses from that list. Might sound familiar. Some of those things that I listed were pretty awful, right? Injuring or killing pets. Yeah, that's who does that. That's the kind of people that hurts animals. Yeah, for fun or just because they're angry. Okay. All right. So the top 4, this is one that I'm helping people with every single day almost. The stress of the involvement made you ill. How many of us, raise your hand? No, just kidding, raise your hand. But how many of us are left with lifelong and ongoing physical medical problems as a result of either long-term and ongoing chronic stress because of the trajectory of your life as somebody who can possibly have complex PTSD. So my clients often have complex PTSD. Or maybe, it was just this particular relationship that was that stressful, that abusive, that it caused your body to have a reaction to that. And there's the book, The Body Keeps the Score, right? We know for a fact that trauma is a very physical and visceral state, and that people with PTSD often have a difficult time determining their own realities, right? Okay, so, but also that comes with PTSD is that your body is affected because of those toxic, long-term, ongoing stress hormones, which are really super damaging to your body. It can affect your endocrine system. It gives us inflammatory issues, and so on and so on and so on and so on. Furthermore, we develop substance use disorder, eating disorder, self-harm, or we overeat and we're coping through eating and put weight on. There's so many ways that we are left with physical ramifications, physical consequences as the result of being abused. And I don't mean injury, like physical injury because of a specific, like someone punched you and you have a black eye and that's your physical. No, I mean like they're gone and you're still sick. That's what I mean, right? And that was one of the top 4. All right, the next one, the top 4 was you incurred debt. I think that of my clients, a lot of them have wound up in financial situations because of the relationship. Often the abusers are they have a criminal mentality. They hide money. They don't pay their taxes. They're really shifty with how they handle money, and they have no problems leaving other people with no resources as they continue to rape and pillage and take resources from other people. So they might rob you blind in the marriage and leave you with all kinds of financial problems. Oh, here's one. This is 80 to 90%. 80 to 90%. I guess I should have read the percentage. You incurred debt was about 50% if you were married, but only 25% if you were dating. The stress of the involvement made you ill. That was dead even between dating and marriage. It didn't matter if you were dating this person or you were married to them. 72%, 78%. We just have a swing of 6% here. That's a lot. 75% on average, dating and married, of a senior sociopath was left with illness. Okay. Now, here's an even higher number. This is 88% and 92%. 88 married, 88 dating, 92 married. But let's just go ahead and say the same. It's a swing of 4%. You became anxious or depressed. Well, go figure. You're not crazy. You are not crazy. And your mood disorder, whatever you've been misdiagnosed with, whatever the things you're dealing with today, 90%. That is, yeah. I mean, we already know this, but it's just fascinating to see it here on paper in an official study. I mean, it's 88, 92. That's 90%. I'm sorry, I keep saying it over and over again, but it's just like, yeah, I know. I see it all the time. Anxious and depressed. Anxious and depressed. Okay, and then the other one. Okay, so if you were dating, this one was 66%, and if you were married, 71%. But let's just go ahead and say 70%. Again, it's just a 5-point swing. You suffered PTSD. Well, really, that's kind of what the webinars on lovefraud.com that I've done are focusing on, is complex PTSD and healing from that. But you can't get out of these relationships without trauma. I mean, it's just, 70% are going to leave with PTSD. Now you understand why you have such a hard time and why you're working to heal. Okay, going to move forward, right? I just had to share that with you. Now, what was the other one I wanted to share? Oh yeah. Let's see. Now this one was types of abuse reported by romantic partners or spouses who met index individuals at age 50 or older. 91% emotional abuse. 91%. Okay, so if 91% of people that are with these abusive types experience emotional abuse, the court system does not recognize that. Society doesn't recognize that. It doesn't count. If you don't have a picture of a black eye or of a mark on your neck, psychological abuse and emotional abuse, it's almost like it doesn't exist. It's like it's in your head. But we know it's a form of abuse because we use it in areas of the government, right? Like psychological warfare, same tactics. It's dismantling the core of the person, dismantling their psychology, dismantling their identity, dismantling their view of themselves in relationship to the rest of the world. Emotional abuse, 84% psychological abuse, 58% or 48% financial abuse. Okay, so emotional abuse, psychological abuse, and financial abuse. Guess what's last on the list? Physical abuse. So many people say to me, I wish he would just punch me in the face, or I wish that she would just, come at me violent. Like that's easier somehow for some people to think about as being abuse as if it's physical. But here we see that it's not physical. It's 27% physical, 32% sexual, 48% financial, 84% psychological, 91% emotional. Case closed. It's really sort of affirming to see research that backs up the experiences that I have as a therapist. It's pretty cool. So I'll go ahead and end. This is a really great book, especially if you are someone who is dealing with a senior sociopath in your life. If you have an elderly parent, or perhaps they've passed away and you're still trying to make sense of the things that went on and how to move through that, because it's really, really a very complicated thing when abusers get older. And because we see them then as being more vulnerable and needing more help. And how do we fit into that as the targets and survivors of their abuse? It's very complicated. Okay, I hope that you're having a great Saturday. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you check out Senior Sociopaths by Donna Anderson. Have a good day. Bye. And stop. Yes, end.
If you like this podcast, subscribe and leave us a review. Find Mandy Friedman, LPCC, CCDVC on YouTube and Facebook. Join the SNAP Survivors of Narcissistic and Abusive Personalities Facebook group and follow us on Instagram @theofficialsnap. Thanks for listening.